Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to Sama, a program where experts are invited to discuss a topic from their area of expertise. And in this episode, we are delighted to have Martha Ugarte to talk about Ho'oponopono.
Hello.
Hi. Martha has been practicing self-identity through Ho'oponopono since 2009, which is 10, 11, 12 years now. She feels eternally grateful to have started cleaning. Now, this isn't cleaning as in scrubbing. This is spiritual cleaning and cleaning in other ways. Whilst she was pregnant with her son, she holds a Bachelor's of Science degree in psychology and has a minor in biology. Now, self-identity through Ho'oponopono became a way of life for her in 2015 when she became part of Dr. Ihaleakala Hew Len's cleaning team. In 2016, her and her mother were chosen by Dr. Hew Len and Joanne Kailikia to expand the Zero Wise website to Spanish. She has also served as a Spanish translator for a radio show, MSKR. I really don't know how to say that. And online zerolag.biz SITH classes. Martha, it's a blessing to us to have you on our show. Welcome.
Thank you, John. Thank you. And I'm very grateful to be here.
Now, Ho'oponopono sounds, it's a kind of strange name to say, and it makes one think it's kind of unusual. What exactly is Ho'oponopono?
So Ho'oponopono is a spiritual way of life for Hawaiians. And the Hawaiian language uses like put together words to make a new word. So ho'o means to make right, and pono means like righteousness or good. So it's to make right, to bring balance or to make right. Thank you.
Is Ho'oponopono only in Hawaii?
Well, traditional Ho'oponopono was a way that traditional Hawaiians solved problems. It's a type of mediation that you would like go to a kahuna and have like vent out your grievances with somebody else, and then you would say you're sorry, and then that person would say sorry back to you, and then you would. And it's a whole process. But our founder, Morna Nalamaku Simeona, which we'll show you a picture earlier, she developed this process where it was just between you and divinity. And since the 80s, it's been all over the world. They teach classes all over the world, and now online with the pandemic, everything went online. And so it's become like a worldwide process, but yes, it started in Hawaii.
So two people that have issues with each other, instead of throwing rocks at each other's windows, they go through the Ho'oponopono process where they forgive each other. Is that how it started? Like basically?
It was a little more complex than that. So let's say that your child is sick and you go to the kahuna and said, oh, my child is sick. And they said, okay, who do you have problems with? Basically. And then they would bring that person in to mediate that problem, and they believe that by resolving those issues that you have with other people, the problems that you were having, like your child being sick, would go away. And that was the essence of the idea behind traditional Ho'oponopono.
They can go quite deep as well. Everything is connected. Everything is connected to life. Right. Does this work on a national level as well? Like if one country doesn't like another, no, there's two I'm thinking of at the moment.
And not just between countries, our thoughts about those countries also have interconnected. Like every time we hear a name of a certain country, all these memories pop up, all these prejudices or and that's what we get to the cleaning of. We clean those.
Because that means you're dirty.
Well, if we believe that we in Ho'oponopono, we were created perfect and whole and in the image of divinity, anything that's not pure love, is dirty, is something that we can clean with.
Is this how one's own previous ideas, preconceptions can alter one's view of something?
Oh yes, certainly. So every time we have that something comes up in our life, in our existence, our brain, our subconscious tries to tie it to something that's already known, so that it feels safe, and it's like, okay, well, I already know what's going to happen. And those memories that get triggered, and they bring in their emotions, and those emotions are what color or shade the experience we're having. And so when we say cleaning, we mean when we say we clean, it's a petition to divinity to erase that memory or that thought or that belief. So every time I'm used to saying cleaning because I'm so ingrained into but what we mean, it's a petition to divinity. And I'm going to try to keep coming back to that so that more people can understand what I'm talking about.
Great. Okay. Gosh, our number of attendees has grown quite remarkably. Now, if anyone has any questions, just type them in the chat section of Zoom. If you're watching this live via Facebook, just type questions underneath the live stream video, and those questions will be forwarded to us. Okay, now I believe you have a PowerPoint that you
I do.
Can show us.
Of course, let's.
And while you're doing that, I'll do this because I feel very envious how you're wearing green and I'm not. No, it's not sticking. There we go. It's sticking. No, it's not.
So Ho'oponopono is about solving problems without knowing what's going on. And I want to start off with the story of Dr. Hew Len, which is my boss, who just passed away in January, on January 15th. He was a clinical psychologist in the 80s who, after working all over the continental United States, he went back to his hometown of Hawaii to become the director of the State Mental Hospital of Hawaii. And while he's in Hawaii, through other issues, he meets this kahuna. The kahuna, our founder, Morna Nalamaku Simeona, and she's a kahuna lapau, which means healer with her hands, healer with hands. And she, in her time, she would do the lomi lomi massage, which is a famous Hawaiian massage. And she was so famous for this massage that she would even have, like, in her clientele list were like former first ladies and I think that would come to, she was in her office was in the hotel, in the Kahala Hotel, which is one of the nicest hotels in Waikiki or Honolulu.
Right.
And so she would heal with this massage. And then so when Dr. Hew Len met Morna, she ended up solving a problem for him that one of his daughters had for 13 years, and she was able to solve it. It was a medical issue, and she was able to solve it pretty quickly. So he thought, like, what is this? I gotta learn what she's doing. Like, he obviously had a PhD and lots of education behind him, and he thought, like, how is this lady solving problems without knowing what's going on? Yeah. You know, he went to school for so many years trying to figure out how to solve people's problems, and he comes across Morna, who just doesn't know anything about psychology, and she's giving advice, and it's working, and people are just, life's being changed. So he learned this process. He took several classes. There's stories that he walked out of several classes because his logical mind wouldn't let him believe that this was actually possible. And then finally, after years, he started working on the being the director of the state hospital. He wasn't a hands-on psychologist. Like, he never saw patients. He never, because he was the director of the hospital. So he started cleaning on his patients' files. He would get a file and ask divinity to erase those thoughts or memories or beliefs that he had that were creating his patients. And it's hard for I think especially for a doctor or someone who's in the profession of helping people to think that you're creating these problems of other people that are showing up in your existence. But he was able to take 100% responsibility for what was going on, and responsibility doesn't mean that it's your fault or that you created, but your ability to respond to something that's going on. And we respond with the cleaning, with petitioning to divinity to clean that what's inside of us. And eventually, I believe there was about 250 inmates in the state hospital. Was for people who had either killed, raped, or like just the legal, like mentally ill and legal issues.
Right.
And eventually, and when he got there, he said that it was a very toxic situation where there was a lot of turnaround of staff, a lot of turnaround of psychologists, and most of the inmates were either secluded or sedated, and eventually, and he said that it was so bad that the paint wouldn't even stay on the walls. That even the paint wanted to like leave that situation. The plants wouldn't stay alive, and it's just and that he noticed that the cleaning was working when the plants started like not dying. So the plant would like revive, and he's like, oh, I guess something's going on. And then little by little, it became a less hectic place to work at. There was no one, none of the inmates were in seclusion anymore. And so much so that they were going on field trips outside. They were playing volleyball, and people started kind of like, what's going on? It's supposed to be a prison. And little by little, the patients started leaving, and their cases would get resolved. And then they closed the Hawaiian State Hospital. It's no longer there. And it's just how Dr. Hew Len became known, and like a lot of the entrance story to a lot of people for Ho'oponopono, because they see like if he could do this with them, what can I do? And that was
right. It's incredible. He was an incredible person. Okay, so shall we start on your slideshow?
Sure. So Ho'oponopono is about solving problems without knowing what's going on. So I kind of touched into this about what is Ho'oponopono and the Hawaiian meaning to cause to make right, and how it was a method for to rectify problems. Self-identity through Ho'oponopono is what our founder introduced, and I think the name says a lot. It's your self-identity. And another thing about Hawaiian language is they play on words a lot. So the I in identity, the I in Hawaiian means divinity. But it's also I, like myself. So it's your self-identity of divinity through cleaning, through getting rid of all those memories that that get us stuck. And this is our founder. And to me, this is one of the most beautiful quotes, that if we can accept that we're the total sum of all past thoughts, emotions, words, deeds, and actions, and that our present lives and choices are colored or shaded by the memory bank of the past, then we can begin to see how a process of correcting or setting right can change our lives, our family, and our society. And so this tells me of why we want to get to the cleaning. So if we could get to the cleaning of all the past emotions and thoughts that we've had, then we could create a better present and future for ourselves.
It's very similar to emotional freedom techniques, tapping. Well, kind of. The concept, the underlying concept of wiping the slate clear.
Yes.
So you don't have the burden of previous experiences or having to identify things in a certain way from what you know from past. Starting again, it's like you're reborn, and think magic can happen if you do this.
And it's also about, like, it, you know, we talk a lot about being in the present and being in the now or the present, but Ho'oponopono has an actual way of doing that. You know, people tell you, like, oh, you have to be in the present, but how? Or you have to let go of memories, or you have to let go of your past, but how? that is the question. How do you do that?
Mm-hmm.
And to me, Ho'oponopono has solved that part of it, the how. Okay, so I think I'm on. So basically, Ho'oponopono is about beginning to know to appreciate who we really are. We were created in the image of the divinity, and most or all religions say that, but we forget all the time. We forget that we are perfect already. And not just us, but everything around us is already perfect. And if we're not experiencing everything as perfect, it's just a memory. It's not, because I also have that logical mind, I like to question, is this my opinion, or is this a fact? Or is this an absolute truth? I've found very little absolute truths in the world. And if it's not an absolute truth, it's my opinion. And if it's just my opinion, then I can change that, or I can, you know, ask divinity to erase it.
Right.
We also learn how a problem, instead of thinking our problems as something tangible in front of us, we learn that problems are just the effect. The actual cause of a problem is a memory. And I want to do the link it to frequency, or it's what you're vibrating. A memory is just the vibration or the frequency you're vibrating in. And if we could change that, then what's in front of us can change. Also, to look at ourselves and the divine creator, we've been so used to we've been used to having other people answer our questions, having someone else tell us what to do or what's right for us. And through Ho'oponopono, you create this relationship with divinity, that you no longer have to look for anything outside of yourself. It's just between you and divinity has a different relationship with each and every person, that even if I tell you this is right and this works for me 100%, that's not going to be right and true for everyone. So also Dr. Hew Len and Morna, they never wanted to be gurus. They never, that's why you don't see him in a lot of, there's a few videos of him, but it was never commercialized. It was never like, let's go on all the talk shows, because he didn't want to be a guru. He wanted to teach people how to, for each and every one of us to go to ourselves and listen and learn to listen to what's inside of us.
Right.
And that's part of the self-care, our inner self-care. We've learned not to listen to ourselves anymore. We've learned that the answer is outside. We've learned that somebody else has our answers. It's either, a guru or in a book or just outside of ourselves. And here it's about remembering, because it's not even relearn. It's not something we learn, because it's something we need to remember, because it was there at one point, we just forgot. And also to know and appreciate the divine creator and begin to experience love beyond all understanding. I was able to experience that, and it was very very, very subtle during when the pandemic started here in March. So I do most of the customer service for Zero Wise Espanol in Spanish, and a lot of my customer base, or grand majority, were in Spain or are in Spain. So the pandemic hit Europe a lot faster than it did here in the United States. And when I started getting a flood of emails talking about the stress that we're in because of this pandemic, and I thought, what can I do that's not teaching, because I can't, but that I can just be there for people through the pandemic. So we did 40 days of quarantine of just being in gratefulness for an hour. We would just go on Facebook Live like you're doing now, and people would mention the things that we're grateful. And in the beginning, it was kind of hard. In the beginning, I was like, oh yeah, I'm grateful for my family, grateful for my health, all the normal things that you're grateful. But the more that those days went on, I noticed that my experience of the pandemic was not the same as other people. When other people would talk about the fear they were going through or the stress they were going through, and if only for 1 hour I was in gratefulness, that changed my whole day. And at the end of the 40 days, I changed my whole relationship with the pandemic. I saw that all the problems that were coming up for people were problems that were already there. The pandemic just kind of like put the catalyst, made everything faster and made everything stronger. So if it was health problems, they were flaring up. If it was money problems, those money problems were already there. Those memories were already there. The memories about death were already there. The memories about health issues were already there. The pandemic just kind of served like a spotlight on all the things that we can clean with.
Right.
Sorry, and it was just I'm sorry, going back. It was just a beautiful way that I was able to see from a different perspective what this love beyond all understanding. Because if I wanted to understand, there was no way that I should feel peace in the middle of a pandemic. That's beyond my understanding of how that was happening. And it wasn't just my experience. A lot of people would write every day of how different they saw things. And this was just an hour that we did. Imagine if could be an everyday thing to be grateful, to be grateful and be in the frequency of being grateful.
Right.
And so like I explained, 5 questions that were very important for Hawaiians is, who am I? They wanted to know who they were, and they figured out that they were perfect and they were created in the image of divinity.
Looks like a pink block to me.
And
yes, when a
so,
child is born, they haven't got any memories of living past. They're clean.
Yes.
From there, they start collecting the garbage from the outside. All their sensations.
And we also talk about memories are not just created by us, right? We also accept them from other people. And we also accumulate them from our ancestors and our relatives and our family. So a lot of these memories we're not even aware of. We don't even know where they're coming from, if it was from, past ancestors. Now we could get into like the epigenetics of things, and now we know that something that happened 7 generations ago can affect us. And we lump all that into a memory. We just call it memory, but it could be a belief. If you have your family members saying things like, "Oh, money is the root of all evil," or and then we wonder why we don't have money, or we don't have that relationship that we wish we would have with money. So another thing is, what is a problem? A problem, we believe, are memories or thoughts that, and we identify with those thoughts. And they create the story of who we think we are and how we think the world is. So our memories and thoughts create our experience. And I'm going to read to you something that Joanne sent me that I thought was very... she gave me the analogy also of a race car with the best machine, the best engine that you could have, but if your windshield isn't clean, you're not going to get to where you want to be. So Ho'oponopono is about cleaning that windshield, thought by thought, memory by memory, until our windshield is clean and we can use that awesome engine that we have to get to wherever we want. So it says, we are the sum total of our experiences, which is to say that we are burdened by our past. When we experience stress or fear in our lives, if we could look carefully, we would find that the cause is actually a memory. It is the emotions which are tied to these memories which affect us now and continually repeat. The subconscious associates an action or a person in the present with something that happened in the past. When it occurs, emotions are activated and stress is produced, and the same problems repeat throughout our lifetimes. And it's evident in my life. I have a funny story when I was a kid, I didn't like being told what to do, right? I still don't like being told what to do. So it's still a very ingrained, deep memory within me. So I thought, I didn't like my parents telling me what to do. So I was like, okay, when I leave my house and I get married, no one's going to tell me what to do because I'm an adult. Well, I found that when I got married, not only were my own parents telling me what to do, but my in-laws were trying to tell me what to do too. And then I also found my child telling me what to do. And I thought so it's a memory. It's not really, it's because I have this memory of not wanting to be told what to do that I keep attracting people to try to tell me what to do. And when I saw my 2-year-old, I said, yeah, that's obviously my memory and not anybody else's. And it happens throughout our lifetimes. We just And we think, if I could have said, oh yeah, the problem is my in-laws or the problem is my parents, but the problem was a memory. And that memory kept on resurfacing until I got to the cleaning.
I noticed, Martha, that when you're were telling your story, you didn't say your husband was telling you what to do. So your husband was, was a big
I wouldn't have chose someone who tried to tell me what to do. But my experience was that his parents, are just, yeah. I think he did try a little, but that didn't go very well.
Didn't work out for him.
Yeah. So again, so where are these problems? So we normally we want to think that the problem is what's in front of us. If it's a disease or a problem with a relationship or financial lack or even global crisis, it's a memory within us, and it's so hard, so hard to see it, especially when it comes to like global crisis. For instance, for a few years, the United States had a president that I wasn't, that I had a lot of memories with. And I would think, what is in me that I'm creating this experience that I'm having with this president? And through a lot of introspection, I saw how I had a memory that I thought that I knew what was better for other people, and I wanted them to do what I thought was best for them. And so that memory in me was replaying outside of myself, so I could see it, and I was like, oh yeah, that's in me, I do that too. But when it's someone that we have a lot of memories with, it's kind of hard to do that. So it takes a lot of practice and introspection, and being really honest also about like what's going on, what are you feeling, what are the emotions, but that's because I like to do it logically like that. But you don't have to know what's going on. Like you can just use a cleaning tool and not try to figure out what's going on, and it still works that way.
It's a snowballing effect, this memory. If you tend to think a certain way, then you align yourself with news outlets which support your existing point of view and builds on that. And this is very prevalent now with the age of the internet, and it's quite damaging too. It means that people don't have a broad outlook. It also means that it's hard for them to realize that there is a bigger picture out there, and it's not necessarily theirs.
Yeah, that confirmation bias is strong. Oh. And we do it. It's not conscious at all. It's our subconscious, and that's why in Ho'oponopono we work with our subconscious a lot. So we see our subconscious as a child.
Yes.
And it's a child who's holding our memories. And I think Morna was very astute in this, because if it's a child, we can't get mad at that subconscious. Like it's there. We can't judge. We can't blame. All we have to do is get to the cleaning, the petition to divinity to clean whatever is replaying in our subconscious. And I've found in my experience that my subconscious doesn't want to let go of things because it doesn't feel safe.
Right.
So I have to find ways to make my subconscious feel safe so it can let go of those hard-held beliefs that are causing problems in my life, that are really like the being told what to do. um, and could you imagine what kind of relationship I would have with like authority or like any legal stuff or any like because it's that same memory that's showing up, and it could show up anywhere.
Yes.
One of the things and the cleaning is so marvelous and so like subtle that I don't notice. In my experience, I don't notice things right away. I don't notice things until I look back and I think like, oh wow, this used to happen before and it doesn't happen anymore.
Right.
For example, my mother has a file cabinet with folders for my father, for myself, and for my brother when we were all living here still, with tickets, speeding tickets, whatever kind of infractions or because at least once or twice a year, one of us or most of us would have to go to court and go file and pay. And it's about remembering dates and remember this, and if you missed your court date, the fines get bigger. So we had folders of like, okay, you have court date this day. And then my mom, maybe like 3 or 4 years, she's looking for the folders from the year before, and she can't find the folder. She's like, what did I do with the folder? 2 years before, nothing. And she noticed that for like the past 2 years, no one had gotten tickets, no one had gotten infractions, no one had gotten any kind of legal trouble. And we're not like we're not thugs or anything that we're getting legal in trouble, but it was just like those little infractions, the little speeding tickets, the little, and they're gone. I haven't gotten a speeding ticket in like 7 years. I'm knocking on wood because, but it's and that also happens too when you bring back up the memory. Like sometimes you fall back into that, like, oh yeah, but it's just little subtle things that. Think about your experience from getting multiple tickets every year to not getting any in 7 years. That's a shift in reality. Well, at least to me, but I didn't notice it until we looked back. Like it took 2 years for us to notice. The same thing when I started Ho'oponopono. I'm a child of immigrant parents. I'm also an immigrant, and I'm also the oldest daughter, and so my job since a young child was to translate for my family and to basically be their advocate for whatever they needed, within the English language. Right. So I had a memory of being like the hero or the savior but in order for me to be a savior, I had to experience lots of injustices. So every time there was an injustice, I was there. Every time I like in the checking out at the store and I was just always there. I was always aware, always on the defensive. And once I started cleaning, I'm not there anymore. I'm not in the right place at the right time anymore when it comes to injustices. I'm at the right place in the right time for other things, but it's just not that constant defensiveness. I was defensive against the world, and I was trying to defend everyone. I don't longer have that experience of the world. I'm in a world where like things happen. I'm in the world where John White from Spooky 2 sends me a message being a spooky 2 owner too, so things like that, the synchronicities. Instead of experiencing the defensiveness of the world, now I'm in synchronicities.
Right. Great.
And so how do we solve these problems? So it's a process of repentance and forgiveness that starts with the conscious mind, making the petition to divinity to void memories, getting back to zero. So what that, I know in the book from Zero Limits, Dr. Hew Len explained it as saying, I'm sorry, please forgive me for, I love you, thank you for whatever's going on in me. But, and that works beautifully, but it also works with just saying, I love you. Just saying, I love you to your problems changes your relationship that you have with that problem. And changing that relationship shifts something. And so the problem's not the problem. The problem is that you think it's a problem. So if you say you love them, you love that, you love your problem, it shifts. And you could say, I love you to anything. I had a funny experience. A few weeks ago, I was teaching a class and I was, telling students how you should talk to your car and talk to your house and tell them thank you and I love you. And a student, stood up and they said, well, like how silly are we that we're going to be talking to everything? Like I can't go around talking to things. And I heard this little, voice telling me, you're always talking to us. You're always saying, oh, I don't like that color. Oh, I don't like this traffic. Oh, I don't like that Mercedes. You're always talking to things. You're always, have that mind criticizing or looking at seeing what's wrong with something or seeing a color and remembering that your mother had a shirt that color and you didn't like it, and all those memories are always replaying in our subconscious. We're just not conscious of it. Now we're telling you consciously say I love you to all those things that you've subconsciously been cursing or angry at or whatever emotion other than love that you've been replaying. So now if we look at our car and we say I love you, instead of thinking like, oh, I need to pay the bill or I should have gotten a different color or it's making that noise now, or now we're saying I love you. And that changes our relationship with everything.
Now, one thing I want to ask, you say instead of thinking you don't like the color or you hate it, you say I love you. So there's a difference between thinking and speaking out loud.
You could mentally say I love you.
Okay.
You don't, it doesn't have to be out loud. It's better if it's not out loud in the beginning. Because again, this is all about us and the relationship we have with things. So, and the only person that needs to hear that I love you is yourself. Okay. And the way your relationship with things will change subconsciously in those subtle, that we don't have to be conscious about, because this is about solving problems without knowing what's going on. And again, like Morna or Dr. Hew Len would, if you came with the problem, they can actually see things like, oh, well, what was it? Someone having a problem with like homelessness in their area, right? Oh, there's a lot of homelessness in my area. And then Dr. Hew Len would say something like, oh, well, do you know how many of your ancestors stole land from people and made them homeless? So now you're having to deal with that. But you don't have to know that. It's just if you can clean with that, because it's coming from somewhere. It's not coming from, it could be your ancestors. It could be a memory. Now I think we're even getting memories from like movies or things that we, and in Hawaiian beliefs is that we've lived millions of lifetimes. So we don't really have to know where this memory came from. We just get to the cleaning of it and say, I love you. Or we can say, thank you. The same as I love you. You can repeat it mentally again and again, and saying thank you will change your relationship with your problems and getting back to zero. We talk a lot about zero because it is that, like, stepping back from duality, not good, not bad, but neutral. And judgment isn't duality. So we're judging what's good, what's right, this is wrong. And if we could get back to the zero, where anything's possible, where if we're at zero, we're open to inspiration, and we're no longer playing that right, wrong, good, bad game. And from zero, you could receive inspiration. And another cleaning tool that I'd like to share with, I'm not sure if you can see the chat on, because I have
the chat. No, we'll look at the questions after we've done the PowerPoint, I think.
So this blue solar water is another tool that we can gift to your audience, and it's a physical tool that also helps clean these memories that are stored in our subconscious. And it's you get a blue glass of water, blue glass. I have bottles. I have around here, and you just put it out. You fill it up with water, put it out in the sun or in under light, and this helps you transmute those memories or those to zero. And so many, and a lot of these things, I know it's hard to believe that it works. So when I travel, I have, especially for teaching classes, I take a little spray bottle, and I was on a taxi ride in Mexico City, because I was teaching a class in Mexico City, and I had brought my son. My son must have been like 7 or 8 years old, and he got stung by something while sitting in the taxi cab, and his eyes started to swell. Like, the reaction was that fast that his eyes started to swell right away, and I grabbed my purse. The first thing I find is blue solar water in the spray bottle. I had a napkin. I sprayed it on the napkin, put it over his eyes. 30 seconds, the swelling was gone. So there's no logical explanation of why that worked, but it worked. And then I told this story in one of my lectures or classes. And then I got an email from this lady saying that, because I told her this story about my son, that she started doing it to her son. She said she was like 16 years old and he wears glasses. So she started putting solar water on a napkin and putting it in his eyes. And that he started complaining that he stopped using his glasses, and he lost his glasses or something. Then when he found them again, he was complaining that he couldn't see right. And she thought, like, oh, okay, well, we have to go and get another prescription, because your prescription must have changed. And when she went and she said that her son's always worn glasses, and when she went to optometrist, they were like, oh, he doesn't need glasses anymore. And I don't know how that works. I'm not saying it's going to work for everyone, but just some of those things that, if you're open to to experiment, because Ho'oponopono is a process of doing. You don't have to believe it. It's not a believing process, it's a doing process. So if you don't believe that it works, like, just give it a try. Say I love you, for one day, and see if it shifts anything. Say thank you for one day and see if your experience shifts. Also, do the blue solar water. Pick one thing and just do it, and then see if it works. Because it's not about believing. You don't have to believe. It's a process of doing. Any questions about the blue water?
I haven't seen any questions come through on chat with regards to that, but there are some questions that we'll be asking
Okay.
soon.
Sure. And also strawberries and blueberries. And it's so funny when I hear like other modalities talking about the benefits of blueberries, and blueberries are so great, and we're like, oh, it's so funny. It's a cleaning tool for us. I was just listening to a video on autism, and they were saying like with blueberries I was like, oh, cool, because it's a cleaning tool. So you can use it even as jams, jellies, and ice cream.
Right.
And so our only purpose here on earth is to go back to zero. Our purpose is not to make X amount of money. It's not to be successful in whatever way we think it is. Our purpose is just to go back to divinity. And we do that through that constant relationship with divinity, and cleaning, and the petition, which is I love you, or thank you, or any of the other ways that people want to connect with divinity. And that is it for my presentation.
Wonderful. Now you're talking about, like, if you want to stop the screen sharing,
Okay.
I'll do my screen sharing in a little while. Hey everyone, we're back. Hey, shall we go through some of the questions that were asked? I surprised one of the participants is from Auckland, New Zealand. Okay, now Lisa Nicholson asks a very good question. She asks, she states, I practiced the technique for many years for my daughter with high functioning autism, and she saw wonderful results, but it seems that over time she would hit a wall, so to speak. Now, is this common? And if it is, what can she do to climb over this wall?
Well, let me give you an example of, let's say you have a child, and a child makes a mistake, and when they're little, and they're just like, I'm sorry, mommy, I'm sorry. When they're a year old, 2 years old, you're gonna let it go. And I'm sorry, and they keep doing the same thing. And when they're 5 years old, you might let it go. But as you get older, at the same thing as you get older with your spiritual practices, that relationship needs to change with divinity, and saying, I'm sorry, but still keep doing this, still having those same memories, are not going to be as effective as when you were a beginner and all these. And I feel like divinity expects more of us the more we mature in that aspect. So when people hit a wall, you need to change the way that you talk to divinity. Like maybe the introspection part of it more, like what's going on. Like we can't say I love you 3 times a day, but then still keep thinking other thoughts the rest of the day and think that that's gonna, it's a whole different way of life that that needs to, but again, it's not like one day to another. It's like you just evolve in the way you clean. And the way I clean now is not the same way I cleaned in the beginning. It's not the same way that I cleaned 2 months ago. It's not, for example, in the beginning, I felt like saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, please forgive me for whatever's inside of me that's causing this problem," right? Because that's basically the setup. But
Yeah.
now, I feel like my innermost feeling feels like that's very blamey. Like I'm chastising myself for having this inside of me. And it's not what we're saying, but it's just the feeling of,
Mm.
and my inner child is saying like, hey, like it's here. Uh, it just feels very heavy now. And I did that for years. I cleaned that other way for years. And now it's something comes up and I say thank you and I say I love you and I'm like, oh, and I try to be more understanding instead of like, get this out of me. I don't want this inside me. I don't want this memory. And now I think it's a lot more gracious. I'm a lot more gracious with myself. In the beginning, I just wanted memories to, like, I didn't want memories and I ran away from the memories and it was just very like, and it's changed over time.
Okay. So I guess the advice to Lisa would be to try and get back to the basics and it's possible that her blaming herself for her daughter might not be necessarily the approach that works best for her.
I think it's about being more gracious with herself about the cleaning also. And I don't know if any of that sounds right for her. I find that a lot of people are very hard on themselves, and being critical of ourselves is the best way to cause more problems. We need to be loving, and like Dr. Hew Len would say, the best way that you can change the world is by loving yourself.
It all starts from within.
Yeah, we think that we want to change the world, something outside, but if you can just love yourself, that's more than enough.
Bev asked a question. She poked me in the ribs, saying, "Oi, what about me?" She asked first. She was wondering if you're being physically harmed by an unseen force. Will Ho'oponopono help?
Yeah, yes. So Ho'oponopono, Hawaiians, and a lot of these things, a lot of people, you don't need to believe. If you believe that there's an unseen force that's harming you, who else but divinity could release you from that? And again, you don't need to know what's going on. In our Ho'oponopono work, we always include our family ancestors and relatives and ancestors. So if anything that's, if you believe in like karma, or if you believe in curses or generational curses or anything like that, all that is included in Ho'oponopono. So yes.
Right. Can I share my screen now?
Oh, sure.
I've got something. I just came across this one. Let's have a look. Okay. This is something which I just, a couple of days ago, I came across this news article that was written 2 days ago. And this was quite remarkable because I'm very aware that we're going to discuss Ho'oponopono very shortly. And this article is a CNN news report reporting on this woman that almost died from the coronavirus. She was pregnant at the time, so the loss of her life would have cost too. And she was battling for her life. If you want to, for the viewers watching, just make a note of the heading here. The article is titled "A Near-Death Experience with COVID Changed Her Life." Now, I was reading through, and I love stories like this. They're inspirational because she overcame something which was, odds that were stacked against her. A doctor told her at one point she had 5% chance of survival. She was very, very in a bad state. She was on a ventilator. She didn't want to go to sleep. She felt that if she ever fell asleep, she would never wake up again. When she did fall asleep, just before, she thought it was the end. Her world went dark. It's quite a scary story when you read through, and of course you're wondering, gosh, what happened to the child as well, the unborn child. They start talking about angels all around us, and the angels she's talking about are the doctors and the nurses, the people, the beautiful people who are doing all they can to keep her above ground. And I was reading all about this in A Prayer for the Living. This is what made me really sit on the edge of my seat, because I thought, this is kind of sounding like Ho'oponopono. And then she texted a friend. She wanted to talk with a friend, and she wasn't sure whether she was alive or not. And her friend texted back saying, "You're alive. Trust me on this." She had been in a comatose state for 12 days. Her friend gave her a mantra, a Hawaiian meditation, to chant and quiet her mind. And you may know these words, Martha. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. Now, at that point in time, I did fall off my chair. I thought, wow, this is like, we've got a summer coming up in 2 days' time. And then it seems like this is now suddenly exploding. More and more people are realizing. You know how many people watch CNN, and now they've read this article, and they've read that these 4 very short sentences saved this woman's life. Now, this is something very physical. The woman, Dana, says it helped bring my mind, body, and spirit together. Now, one question she cannot answer, she doesn't know why it helped. She doesn't know. Who does know, Martha, really? Really? But by releasing all memories and just going back to the zero state, miracles, you allow miracles to happen instead of preventing them from happening. And maybe this is, we did seek you out. We headhunted you and bothered you, and we're hoping, please accept our pleas to come on our show and explain to our audience and spread the word. Things are connected more than people realize. And Martha, you and I are connected. And this information which I stumbled on wasn't a chance. It happened because I allowed it to happen. I didn't think of it being like a factual thing and it's going to be as good as this or as bad as that or anything. I just accept anything that comes in. And this came my way. And this is the photo of her with her child now. And isn't it kind of cool to think that Ho'oponopono saved her life and saved the life of a child? And she recognizes this and mentioned this to the interviewer. Now, this is a Western news, so they're Western people by nature, and I guess most other cultures as well, they're factual. They like to, if it can't be proven in a laboratory or by double-blind studies with trials, it's not real. Although Dr. Hew Len with his work with the hospital and how they closed it down, that's pretty proof positive that it does work. But it is hard to prove to someone who has still carrying around the burden of memories. Prove to them that if they released their memories, accepted the wisdom of the divine, and chant, say over and over, I'm sorry, and mean it. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. There's stories that I can tell, Martha, in my experience with Ho'oponopono. I guess we've been doing it for, well, it's over a year, not very long though, but I've seen changes, big changes too. The most recent one is one that I can't announce yet because it's too soon, but it's a beautiful thing that's happened a week ago, and we're just waiting now. Miracles just happen, and I've used Ho'oponopono. People ask me sometimes to put energy into them to help them to heal. I don't regard myself as an energy healer or anything, but if I just let everything go, let the universe do the magic. But what I do is when I put my hand on them, I give these magical 4 sentences. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And I say it over and over and over and mean it. I don't really know, Martha, what I'm apologizing for. But what I do know is that something that I, or in the past, however far back, has happened, has created the opportunity for the disease to be there. And I just want to wipe everything so that natural healing can take place. And I can tell you from first-hand experience that the first few times it's remarkable. After that, you kind of expect it. It's sort of like, lovely things happen. When I close Sammers, I usually tell people to pass the love forwards. What I think I should add to that is try and erase negative thoughts. Try and forgive yourself and others. Try and find yourself back into the zone. I don't know how wide the zone is. I think it's quite narrow, of bliss, happiness. Martha, there's always things that happen in our lives that are complicated, and for the moment you're angry, you're upset, everything that which is blocking the divine from allowing the magic to take place. And things can be stirring up memories of childhood, and and things just turn to custard very quickly. Meditation is also a good way of just zoning out. But when you connect everything together and you combine, I do meditation. I also do Ho'oponopono whilst I meditate. But I do it, I've done it so many times, it's subconsciously. I can fall asleep whilst doing Ho'oponopono. It's a part of me. If I hate somebody, or I pass judgment on somebody, that is my problem. And that is hurting me, and it's affecting things inside and outside of myself. I've come to realize that if you release it and reach the zero state, you reach that point of happiness where you're back like to when you're a child, where things are new and you don't prejudge things, you just accept things and things flow more naturally. There's another new message that's come up. Oh, please stop talking. No, it wasn't. Now, Lisa was asking, is it true you can change the order of the 4 sentences? I find it seems to have a slightly different feeling depending on the order, and each situation feels like it has a preferred order. What is your view on that?
So my view is that there's no right or wrong way to clean. There is no, it's about your own personal relationship with divinity. And, and you, for some people, saying I'm sorry feels very heavy.
Yes.
Because we have a lot of like religious ideas of guilt, and you don't have to say you're sorry if you're not sorry. You can say thank you. You can say I love you. You can do any of those four parts separately. Also, if I can't say thank you to something, that I can say thank you for reminding me that I still have a lot to clean. So it's you just have to feel out what works for you. And also in the classes of self-identity through Ho'oponopono, we have meditations, we have breathing work, we have physical exercises, we have over 72 different tools, like food tools or physical tools that we can use for the cleaning. It goes beyond the I love you, thank you, but that's just if you wish to go that route. But just saying I love you or thank you is cleaning, and it's getting to those memories. And feel it out, even if you don't feel like saying I love you or thank you. You can say like, oh, thank you for showing up. So another thing that I need to clean, or thank you for showing up to remind me that there's still so many memories. It's a very personal thing, your relationship with divinity. And if someone tells you this is how to do it, this is what's the only way to do it, you should question that.
Right. There's different people, different ways. Yes. How can people learn more about Ho'oponopono?
Okay, so we have a free article called "Who's in Charge," which basically Dr. Hew Len talks about what I kind of went over about. It's not the data that, because we think that we're making these decisions on our own. We think we're making even simple decisions as like what to eat. We think like, yeah, I have free will to choose what to eat, right? And you'll find that it's mostly memories. All of our decisions are based on memories. Very, very randomly do we get actual inspiration for something that's not a memory. So we think we're in charge, but it's really the memories or inspiration who's in charge. And you can find it at self-i-identity at through ho'oponopono.com. It's long. I think I think the foundation made it difficult to find because one of our number one ideas or ideologies is that we're 100% responsible for everything that shows up in my life. So if someone shows up in my life, I don't tell them go clean or you should do this. I say, oh, I want to clean that's inside of me, that's bringing up this experience with you. But yeah, I'm going to write it in the chat, and
we'll post it under the published video as well, Martha, so people that stumble upon our video in years to come will be able to find their way to you. And
this is the website to the foundation. The foundation is who trains and instructs instructors on how to teach. There's, I think, over 24 different instructors all over the world, and I'm one of them. But there's right now a lot of classes online. Also, there's different classes in different parts of the world. I think well, I just had my first in-person class in San Francisco. I hadn't had an in-person class in 2 years. So that was fun.
Yes.
Yeah. And just different kind of preparation than a Zoom class. But another for my personally for Dr. Hew Len, I work for zerowise.com, which is his personal project, which is these embracers that remind you to get to the cleaning, and they say "I love you, thank you" in his handwriting, and they are also they're programmed to help you with the cleaning and remind you to tell yourself "I love you, thank you." And every time I look at my embracers, I remember, yeah, that's what I need to do.
Andrew is asking if you can post the second link that you mentioned for the.
So 01. And I'm in charge of the Spanish, so you'll probably get someone else will be in charge of the English. So it won't be me answering the questions. But again, I'm very grateful to be here. I told John I own a spooky too, so to me it was like synchronicity that you reached out. I was very happy.
We're very happy that you accepted our invitation. We're a bit wary. We knew the book, we knew the procedure and everything, but wow, to get one of the experts to agree to come online would be more than what we expect, but graciously you accepted it, and I'd like to thank you for gifting us your hour and a half to explain to us what Ho'oponopono is, how it can change your life.
And I want to tell you how I link the spooky too. So I thought, okay, I could clean and I clean on things, but I think a machine would be more effective keeping me at a frequency, and that's what my thought process of like all the stuff that I'm not catching consciously, like maybe just being in the frequency of love, or might catch all those stuff. So
on the Chinese culture 5,000 years ago, they were using Ho'oponopono in their way, almost exactly word for word translated 5,000 years ago, and this really struck me as incredible. There is a forgiveness chant, if you like, which they 5,000 years, and it's probably way before then as well. Now, with regards to the equipment side of Ho'oponopono, on Friday we're going to release a product that we have been using for a while, which you yourself will be quite interested in, because it's not just frequencies, because as we're talking, yes, it is frequencies, but it's more than that. But I can't give too much information because we haven't formally announced it yet, but watch that. And because what we do, we are associated with some temples and different groups who are aligned in the same way as us. And we use this equipment there. I'll keep it vague, but we use our equipment there. But anyway, no, we're not talking about me, we're talking about you. Martha, thank you so much for coming onto our show and giving us your time and doing all the preparation work beforehand, because you created that PowerPoint specially for Sema. So thank you for that.
Yes, I wanted to create something as that anyone could understand, and like I've only ever talked about Ho'oponopono in classes and lectures. This is my first interview outside of that, so I'm used to talking to people that have the same verbiage as me, and I say, oh, the cleaning or things like that, and I have to remind myself, no, it's called, the petition to divinity to clean what's inside me that's causing this experience. And I'm very thankful for that too, because it really brought me into like a more basic thing of what Ho'oponopono is to me. And what I've come up with in the most basic terms is being in the presence of divinity by erasing the memories that are keeping me from enjoying that.
Great. Okay, well, we will provide links for your websites under the published video to help people that are watching this video. Thank you for your time. It's been greatly appreciated. I hope that, well, I'm sure that our audience will have raised their awareness just a little bit and hopefully will look further. The right people are attracted, and I can see Ho'oponopono becoming more global.
Yes, and I see a question about the blue glass bottles.
Yes.
Any blue glass bottle would do. Even some of the most delicious wine comes in a blue glass bottle, and you could drink that wine, wash that bottle, and use that blue. There's no right bottle to do that on.
Oh, okay, great.
Any bottle would do.
Wow, okay, great. Okay, well, thank you again, Martha, and thank you to our audience too for participating. The questions that came through are excellent questions, and they're questions that other people watching this video would have asked themselves. So thank you for your participation. Well, that concludes this week's summer. There's another summer coming up on Friday. It's going to be announcing 2 new products. It's not going to have anything to do with frequency generators. Well, that's new, isn't it? And it's perfectly aligned with what Martha has taught us now. Perfectly aligned that way. But watch the space. More will be revealed shortly. Okay. God bless you, everybody. Keep on passing the love forwards. Start thinking what Martha has taught us. Start cleaning, house cleaning, self-cleaning. Get yourself to that 0 point and find true happiness and let the miracles happen, albeit for your health, your finances, relationships. You will be very pleasantly surprised, but it all starts at 0. Thank you. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Hey, Martha, we nailed it. We did. You did such a fantastic job.
Thank you.
I would have never have guessed that you're not nervous now, are you?
No.
No, I'm just tired. I know it takes it out of you. You did a terrific job. Wonderful job.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I'm very grateful. And people knew what it was, and I'm surprised. That's always good. And your story that you found, that was very beautiful too. Thank you for that.
It was. It really touched me because, the coincidence, because it's the first time I've ever read anywhere about someone using Ho'oponopono, and it's just 2 days before the summer. So I thought, okay, I'll keep it a secret. I'll give you a surprise. And this woman claims that Ho'oponopono saved her life. She didn't, it was something non-physical. And so if it can do that, think what else it can do.
Yeah.
What I have found also is that applying Ho'opono, it improves relationships with people, like people that are your enemies or you view as your enemies. After your mind change, and then finding 0, and then doing the I'm sorry, please, thank you, I love you, repeating over and over with them in your mind, they no longer are enemies. They are people, or they might even come on the positive side of the
Yeah.
of the line. You know, they might actually be not too bad after all. So much as memories, so much.
So
Memories
much.
are terrible things.
Well, they want to be transmuted also. We don't think that memories are, they want to go back to the light just like we do. So they come up to teach us a lesson and let them go. Because a lot of those memories are patterns that we've had throughout our lives that we don't see them as a memory, where we think it's something different popping up, when it's just the same memory popping up, and it wants to be let go, and we just keep pulling on to them. So
Right. And you know, Martha, there's people that seem to attract bad luck. Well, it's not.
It's a thought. It's the memory that you attract bad luck that attracts bad luck.
Yeah. And there could be something physical. Like for a while, I was getting a lot of flat tires in my bicycles and my car, and then that was me.
Yeah.
And so it's really basic, you know, and you wouldn't think so. As a logical engineer, you think this is nonsense. You know, the Zero Limits book. It took me about 2 or 3 months to read the book. Now, I'm a speed reader. I can read a book in about an hour or less, easy. And the reason it took so long was that, oh, this is rubbish. This is fairyland type stuff. And I put it down again. But the book must have had a little hook in me because, okay, go a bit further. I mean, it's good that the book itself was written by someone that was, you know, skeptical of the concept of zero limits of Ho'oponopono. And so that kind of helped me. But yes, it just sounded so wacky. But after now, maybe it's 2 years now we've been doing it. Now I can say with confidence that it does big changes. If there's a problem in New Zealand that's something like 12,000 kilometers away from where I am now, I can solve those problems.
Yeah.
Or have a chance.
And the fact that you're taking 100% responsibility for a problem in New Zealand is a reason why you can solve those problems. Because if you think like, oh, that's problem's too big, or I can't, then you can't.
Or I'm not part of that problem, but I'm going to try and fix it anyway because I am an appliance.
Right.
No.
Yeah.
With our devices, the Ho'oponopono, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. Those 4 words are exceedingly important, so important, we actually include them inside our products now, Martha. We write them inside every single product that we sell, or I think most products we sell now that we have it. So people that get the appliances and use them in a physical way and are totally unaware, they've got a blessing inside their machine.
Awesome.
So quite possibly your generator's got Ho'oponopono inside it.
Oh.
Ooh.
I'll go look for it.
You've got to unscrew and open it up.
Oh no, then I won't do that.
Yeah. And it's great that it's nothing to do with religion, nothing that crosses over any boundaries, because loving is in all the religions that I know.
Yeah, that's what I when you were mentioning the Chinese mantra. I mean, if you know what Jesus came to teach was also about love and forgiveness.
Yes. Exactly.
And we didn't really get that lesson very well. But if there was something that he came to teach was love and forgiveness, and whatever we humans interpreted as was something totally different. So I do believe that all cultures around the world have that basic understanding, especially indigenous cultures. Hawaii is such a magical place because their indigenous cultural, spiritual beliefs are still practiced. One of the few places on earth where they're still practiced everywhere.
Right.
like talking about the aloha spirit means that everything's alive. And they see that everything's alive and everything has its own identity, its own like energy or spirit.
The indigenous people in New Zealand, the Maori, they believe the same thing.
Yeah. So I also mentioned in the self-guided Ho'oponopono classes, we have breathing exercises, we have meditations, physical exercises, inner child work. Like it's such a complete class that like for instance, breathing is so important for Hawaiians that when white people came, they call them haole, which means ha. Ole means without the ha, or those that don't know how to breathe, or those that don't have the breath of divinity inside them. And they differentiated from their indigenous people had that connection with divinity through their breathing, and we lost it. We forgot how to breathe. So breathing, something so simple is so important for the cleaning.
Great. Before this seminar, I was thinking that the seminar will be brilliant. I was hoping it'll be amazing, and it's exceeded expectations.
Oh, thank you.
It was really good. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
We'll publish the video. We'll put the links that you provided here underneath the video. Are there any other links that we should provide?
Well, I have a class coming up, but it's just very like, the class it's nothing really has a lot of information. We're not an information dense website. Okay. But yeah, those two should be fine.
Those two should be fine. Okay. Yeah. Have a great evening. I guess it's evening your side of town. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you once again for coming on our show.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right. That was lovely, Martha. Boy, she is a beautiful, beautiful woman. It is true, actually. I did go on my bended knees and asked her to come on our show. She was nervous when I asked her, because she's never had such a large audience. I explained at that time that the audience are kind of nice people and very supportive, and she agreed. Yeah, it is a wonderful seminar. It's also quite touching. I've been doing Ho'oponopono for quite a while, and I do know the benefits. I do certainly hope that people try it. Just forget about all the things you're taught at school, university. Just let everything go and just try it. If you have a problem, it can be a health problem. Let's say you yourself have got a health condition, a serious health condition, or one of your loved ones. Just say the 4 sentences. I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. Just repeat it over and over and over and over and over until you fall asleep. Say it just when you're going to bed, or just through the day. And you don't need to do anything else. And just let positive change take place. I've seen miracles. I've seen people that were on death's bed become healthy again, just from those 4 simple short sentences. It's as simple as that. And it's as Martha was saying, it's aligned with Christianity, what Jesus taught us, to love and to forgive. And so there's nothing to lose except your disease. Thank you for viewing, everyone. Keep on passing the love forwards to your family, loved ones, those you don't love. Just pass it forwards. Take care. Bye-bye.